Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to the internet's favorite news show, This Week in the News. And this week we've got a lot of shit to go over. This week we got a lot of stuff to go over, from children beefing over Minecraft to a ceasefire in the Middle East. With that being said, let's get right into it. Now, for our first story of the week, it's officially JOEVER. Joe Biden has given his farewell speech, and he will be leaving the White House next week, giving way to the Trump administration. Pretty nice speech. He starts off by talking about how he spent the last 8 months trying to reach a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. So all the Trump fanboys claiming credit for that. Unfortunately, not quite. But apart from that, it's a pretty rousing speech about what it means to be American, and in my opinion, it's one of the more coherent speeches I've heard him give. Like, the most coherent I've heard him in the past, I don't know, 4 years. But now, on a more serious note, as I mentioned in the last segment, Hamas and Israel have finally come to an agreement on a ceasefire. After 15 months of fighting in the Middle East, efforts for a ceasefire to prevent Israel's bombing of Gaza have finally come to fruition. It would see Israeli hostages being released in a few phase plan to ensure that ceasefire goes according to plan. But on Thursday, there was a development where basically the far right party, the Zionist party in Israel, had basically given a bit of pushback, saying that Hamas was moving the goalpost as they were demanding for political prisoners that were symbolic of the Hamas movement to be released from Israeli prisons. So the far right Zionist party in Israel was considering leaving the cabinet. Now we can assume that Benjamin Netanyahu is probably pushing for this deal, considering the president-elect Donald Trump is of the US is probably in favor of this ceasefire. Cutting US foreign aid would help us cause a lot. Now, while Trump's influence is important in this, I think that most of the credit goes to the Democrats. I've seen some posts, notably by Charlie Kirk, saying that imagine being a Democrat and being told that a ceasefire is impossible, and then Trump comes in and he does a ceasefire without even getting into power. That happened because he wasn't in power yet, and the Democrats did it. So people have decided to support their favorite teams instead of just being happy that a ceasefire has finally been agreed upon. It's an extremely happy moment. Now, hopefully, it does happen. That is as of Thursday. I don't know if there's been any more developments, but I'll keep you updated next week. As a little intermission between war, Nintendo has announced they are releasing the Nintendo Switch 2. This is the successor to the Nintendo Switch. It will have, when docked, it will have similar specs to the PS4 Pro, and it will be a little more powerful than Steam Deck. Personally, I think it's a bit stupid. This is gonna be the Wii U all over again, in my opinion. Hopefully, I'm wrong, but releasing an old gen console midway through the new gen just seems a bit stupid to me. But Nintendo have been known to do this. There's not much information about it yet, and the Nintendo Direct will be happening in February. And in more YouTube centric news, another ongoing and frankly already boring situation is the Tommy Innit versus Dream situation. It all started when Tommy Innit started saying that he didn't like Mizkif for no reason, and it all devolved into a Twitter beef where Dream ended up calling Tommy Innit's fans the bad R word. And then Tommy Innit got offended by that and made a 5 minute video basically, exposing how Dream was a bad friend and a bad influence and took advantage of Tommy when he was younger. Dream then responded by being a bit of a schizo on stream, but then gave a proper response. And to be honest, I'm not showing many clips because you can go and watch both videos. They're not that long, but you can tell that on both sides, these people are being unreasonable. And they clearly have a lot of problems with each other, but I think it's just they hang out in different spaces, and while Tommy in it is the more reasonable side here, I still think he's a bit of a whiny crybaby, but whatever. Also this week, 32-year-old Australian Oscar Jenkins is rumored to have been killed by Russian forces after having been captured a year ago while fighting in Ukraine. But if he has been killed, Jenkins is considered a prisoner of war. It would be a war crime. It's, against the Geneva Convention to kill a war criminal. Well, not even kill a prisoner of war. Jenkins would be one of 7 Australians that would have died in Ukraine while fighting Russia since 2022. In a video of Jenkins being pressured by Russian soldiers, he reveals that he is a teacher who lived in both Australia and Ukraine. And the Australian government has expressed a grave concern over the health care and well-being of Jenkins. And for the last story of the week, the US has announced that they are planning on banning TikTok. This has been something that's been on and off for the past, feels like it's been around since TikTok's been around, but really it's only been around since 2022. Now, whether or not it's actually going to happen this time comes down to whether or not someone buys it before the ban comes into place. It seems that Trump is planning on buying it, but we're not too sure if he's just saying that or if he's actually going to do it, like with Greenland. It's led a lot of people to immigrate to immigrating social platforms. There's like the death of Vine all over again. They're going over to a new, spyware Chinese platform called Red Note. It's basically TikTok, just, there's nothing different. It's just fucking TikTok. I've not downloaded it. I've not used TikTok in a very long time, so I wouldn't even be able to notice a difference. I'm a base Instagram Reels user myself. But yeah, it's been pretty interesting to follow, but it's been all over the place. Like one day it's not getting banned, the other day someone's buying it, the other day no one's buying it, so it's going back to being banned. But it seems that it will actually be banned once and for all. So now they've got to go to ban Red Note, which is fucking amazing. But yeah, unfortunately with that, that's the end of the second episode of This Week in the News. Unfortunately, there's not been as much going on this week, but there should be a little more going on next week with Trump's inauguration and whatnot, and more details on the ceasefire. I've also released this episode a little early because I'm kind of busy this weekend, and also keep an eye on my channel if you like football, because I'm planning on releasing a new series going over every prem game that happened this week, everything that happened in it. But with that being said, have a good night.